to ABMP's Meditate and Move. I'm Ann Teachworth.
And I'm Lynn Teachworth.
And we are the co-founders of Trunamics, a continuing education company for therapists. This week we're going to be bringing you little tidbits and tips for self-care that are functional, structural, and energetic. And today we're going to start with the functional approach.
Yeah, today's what we really wanted to share with you guys is to do some functional biomechanics stretching. So basically we're giving you some excerpts of some stuff that we teach in our classes because we really want you to experience the concept of extension and lift in your bodies. And I know if you're like us through this whole thing, we've been sitting down a lot. Even though we've been working out a lot, there's a lot of sitting down, looking at the computer and writing classes and all that. And even really when this isn't going on, we're still bent over our clients all the time. So what we wanted to do today was help you guys to experience what it's like to get your psoas, quads, adductors, and hip flexors really opened up. And so what we're going to share with you is some functional stretching. And this is stuff that I built off through my education through the Gray Institute. And what happens when we get an experiential stretch, that means that we're not just laying down, we're actually experiencing the stretch. We're going to load the muscles in a really tight sagittal plane mode, say, and then we're going to go through frontal plane and transverse plane motion, and it's really going to allow your body to deprogram all that flexion that we've been putting into our bodies all day to give you a really great experience. I think you'll really love this as a self-care option to do a lot and just to help yourself relax, especially if you go before a run or anything, or even just something to know your body a little bit better, to give you a lot of body awareness. Great? Yeah. All right, so let's start off with the psoas first. I'm not going to give you guys a whole lot of instruction, just important details. So to truly, really properly stretch the psoas, we have to kind of get off the table and we have to internally rotate our leg because of where the psoas attachment is inside the femur. If you try and stretch it without internally rotating the leg, you won't get as much as you normally could. So whenever you do these stretches, we're going to just kind of use a chair and a wall for these today. But we want you to have a chair next to you or do it on your stairs or anything you can hold on to give you stability. So Ann's just going to hold on to the true stretch. So now that she's properly loaded up, foot internally rotated, and Ann's going to keep her leg locked out the entire time here to keep that force up here. So she's just going to take her pelvis forwards. And notice how she's keeping her shoulders back and her spine straight. I'm going to say, Ann, even look up towards the ceiling just a little bit to get a little bit more lumbar extension to really straighten that psoas. So she's gone in and out a few times to get the sagittal plane loaded. Now I'm just going to have Ann stay in the stretch. Now I'm just going to have her drive her pelvis side to side in frontal plane motion, which is a really important psoas motion. And that's really going to unlock that. Now notice how she's not moving her shoulders, just her hips. And now let's go into a nice big stretch and like nice big circles around. Good. This kind of gets all three planes of motion this way. Excellent. All right, and she's making sure that that foot is not turning out. A lot of us are so externally rotated sometimes that'll happen, and that's the most important part. All right, Ann, why don't you come on out of that for a second and just walk around. And you guys just walk around for a second now and notice how your body has changed. You've just educated your psoas on how to do its job properly, and it's really going to lengthen it out. The nervous system saying, thank you for reminding me of what my job is. I can let go of all that tension. All right, so let's go ahead and do the other side. So she's going to take her left leg, and notice she's just kind of internally rotating that about 25 degrees, and hold on for stability. Chest up, and she's going to be driving forwards and backwards, just 7 or 8 times to really get it loosened up. And now go ahead and stay in that stretch. And now let's go side to side. She's doing a great job of keeping her shoulders still and just getting some good frontal plane motion. And now, Ann, let's do some big circles with that pelvis. This is just a real easy, basic way to turn that psoas muscle on. For you guys that are runners, when you do this, you will notice that it's much more efficient to run when you do that. All right, let's go ahead and walk that out for just a moment. And really just notice how much easier it is to walk when you do that. It's pretty good.
My legs feel 5 inches longer.
That's right. And she's really flexible. All right, so the next stretch we're going to go into is probably my favorite stretch to show people. It's the adductors, and this is one of the most overlooked muscles as body workers. I think it's It's one of the little hidden gems if you want to change the body. So what we're going to do is notice that Anne is facing you guys with her foot straight ahead, and her other foot is up on the chair. It's just going to be about 2 or 3 inches in front of this foot, because what I want is your pelvis to be straight ahead. If the foot's back a little bit, that's going to turn her pelvis out, and we don't want that. Okay? So if we were doing this for reals, and like I want you guys to do, is to have a chair kind of in front right here, because what we want to keep is this whole body straight, because so many of us are locked into flexion in our adductors, and they're really, you know, as we bend forward, we're going to bend at the knee or at the waist. And so if you have something in front of you that you can hold on to with your arms and you don't let your elbows bend, that's going to keep you from going into flexion. Okay? So Anne, why don't you just kind of load up in frontal plane here a little bit and just get those adductors moving. Now some of you might feel it in the left leg. If you are, get that foot a little bit further front up on the chair. And this foot here needs to be perfectly straight ahead, not turned in or turned out, because you'll cheat your adductors. Okay, go ahead and stay in there, Anne. Now as Anne's right here, she's going to start doing sagittal plane. So she's not moving her shoulders, not anything else. She's just driving that pelvis forwards and backwards. And because the adductors attach all the way around, this is really going to allow to get them really loose and happy. So a lot of you, if you haven't done this before, you might be cursing us right now, but that's okay. It's a good stretch. All right, now stay there. Now what we're going to do is just go into transverse plane. So she's just going to be rotating her hips left to right. And this is really an important part of the stretch, because the main job of your adductors in all function is decelerating rotation, whether it's in front of you or in back of you as you're walking. So it's super, super important. Okay, and why don't you come on out of that and walk that around. And I love the feeling after this stretch, because you can really feel your foot pronate, everything in your body comes up, even your thoracic spine feels really, really loose. All right, let's move on to the other side. So once again, Anne's going to get her foot straight ahead. Just going to have you turn your toes in a little bit. Good. And why don't you just go ahead and hold on to that. The foot on the right is a little bit further forward. And let's just drive in and out. Excellent. So she's really going to warm up that adductor in a frontal plane motion. Now let's just go ahead, and now go ahead and stay in and keep your shoulders still, but just drive your pelvis forwards and backwards just like that. Outstanding. This is one of the best fascial release and neuromuscular re-educators there are, is functional stretching. Okay, now that looks pretty good. So let's go in transverse plane. So now she's just rotating. So such a great sports performance stretch. It really settles down the whole kidney meridian, gets everything relaxed. Great, why don't you come on out of that now? There's no reason to do this very long. Your brain figures it out quickly. How's that feeling?
Feels great.
Yeah, I
feel
bet.
very lifted through my abdominals and thoracic system.
Yeah, so just notice how as you stand there, how your awareness of your feet and your whole body are after that. The adductors are so important in every function basically that we do. All right, so what we'll do now is let's do a hip flexor stretch. And this is going to be very similar to the Psoas stretch that you did, except we're just not going to elevate the front foot so we can keep it outside. So go ahead and turn in. If you want to face them, that might be easier. So Anne's going to just internally rotate her foot. And notice that her feet are about shoulder width apart, because a lot of times if you internally rotate your foot and you haven't done this before, you'll step in front of the other one, then you won't have any stability. So really get your feet shoulder width apart. And if you can touch a wall or anything while you're doing this, that gives you great stability too. So what we're going to do, the main thing with this is to keep that back foot turned in. I don't care if your heel comes off the ground. Some of you might even feel it in your calf too. That's okay, but just posteriorly tilt your pelvis. Glide that forward. Okay, go ahead and just stay in that stretch there in the sagittal plane. Now that she's loaded that, she can go in the frontal plane. And notice how she's not letting your shoulders go side to side. It's just for the pelvis. And this frontal plane motion is a huge part of what your hip flexor does. So yes, they do flex the hip, but they also do all their types of lateral motions too. And now let's do some circles with that. Little transverse plane motion, just kind of get it all going. Doesn't matter which direction you do, you can do both of them, they work either way. And now what we want to do is, because the hip flexor is so involved in head forward pathologies and rotator cuff injuries, it's a big place where they all come from. I'm just going to have Ann bring both of her arms up, and we're going to drive her upper body to release this. So she's just going to reach back in sagittal plane. Okay, now go ahead and stay back in that stretch, and now she's going to reach side to side. Notice how much motion there is, right? Your hip flexor is a really big decelerator of this frontal plane motion. All right, bring your arms down, do a little sagittal plane motion. Transverse plane while you're there. Let's do your arms. So down, and let's rotate back and forth. There we go. I'm not being a very good teacher. Outstanding. All right, Ann, why don't you come on out of that and walk that out. You guys walk it out too, and notice how that leg feels now. All right, because those muscles get a little bit tight, they can really pull you into flexion, and you stand up, is going to jam up those lumbar spines. So if you can get that opened up, that really gives you a great sense of lift. Cool? All right, let's do the other side. So go ahead and internally rotate that left foot and step out just a little bit wider. So make sure that your feet are shoulder width apart. And back leg locked out, foot turned in. And now Ann is just going to drive forward. Remember to touch the wall if you need to. She's got good balance. And she's keeping her pelvis just a little posteriorly tilted. Great job. All right, let's stay in the stretch. Now she's just going to go side to side with her pelvis. Not moving your shoulders hardly at all. Really keeping the focus down there. And I like to do each plane of motion just 8 or 9 seconds, enough to give your body an experience of that. Now she's just doing some big circles. She's keeping that left leg locked out. I'm going to help her with that internal rotation a little bit. Great. All right, let's bring the arms up and use those as drivers. So we're going to go in and out. Really great. Okay, stay back, and now let's go. Just really reach in with your arms. You can see how much movement that causes in the pelvis down there.
Breathing is helpful too.
Yes, breathing is good. If you're turning blue when you're doing these, something's not right. Okay, now she's going to do her transverse plane stretch. Outstanding. That's great. All right, go ahead and walk that out, Ann. See how that feels. You guys just walk it out for a second and get used to what that feels like in your new motion. I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way, because now we're going to move on to probably the main stretch that I show to clients in my practice to help them get better. We're going to do a quad stretch. So I want you guys to get next to a wall if you can, and grab a pillow or something like that that you can, depending on your type of floor, even if it's carpet, it can still be a little rough. So grab a pillow or anything. And you're going to take your foot and put it against the wall like this. Now notice she has the ball of her foot against the wall and not the top of her foot. Top of the foot doesn't work very well. We want to get the calves out of the way and engaged so we can get to the quad. So what she's going to do is she's got on her knee, here's about 8 inches away, and she's stepped up into a lunge. Now this is really important to have a chair, something to hold on to, because this can be really tight. In fact, most of you will notice you can't get to any more extension than this, which is a lot of our population. That's why we have so many lower back problems, or one of the main reasons. All right, so Ann's just going to go backwards and load that up. And now she's going to take her hips side to side. We're going back to that frontal plane motion, and she'll really feel those quads gliding over each other. It's a very, very important functional motion. So she's going to do that till she feels it loosen up. And now she's going to go into rotation. So she's just taking her pelvis in transverse plane motion and really feeling those quads do their natural action, because they're really big decelerators of motion, those quads are. And so when you get them to turn this way, you're going to feel it loosen up terrifically. Cool. All right, come on up. That is enough, Ann, and let's walk that out and just experience what that quad feels like. I always love the experience after this stretch in the adductors, because it changes your whole body so much. It's great. All right, let's jump into the other leg now. So let's jump back down. Just going to get her right knee about 6 to 8 inches from the wall, using the ball of the foot. That's very important. Stepping up into a lunge, grabbing for stability, and she wants to try, and she's doing a great job, but just make sure your heel is right behind your butt. Sometimes it's easy to get it outside. If you can't get there right away, you'll just work at it, okay? So chest up and head up is very important here because if you bend forward and look down, that will take the pressure off of your quad. The only time I want people to do that is if they're getting a little jam up in their lower back because they have too much flexion here. So she's just going through frontal plane motion, really feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, honey. Excellent. Try and really get over as far as you can on those. You're doing good. Yeah, doing good. All right, now we're going to go into rotation.
It's amazing how different they feel.
Yeah, you will notice a lot of asymmetry between the right and left side of your bodies, right? That's a good thing. That's why we have jobs. Okay, a couple more twists there, and let's go ahead and get up and walk that out. Outstanding. How's that feel?
Feels great. It's my whole pelvic half is able to roll back.
Yeah, so just kind of walk that out for just a second, guys, and notice how that feels in your body. And then now, once you've kind of integrated that with walking, I like to walk for about 2 or 3 minutes after I do this because it changes so much in your nervous system, which is, where all that tension is really held in the fascial system, that allows your body to reorganize and take on this new change. And this is something that you can do 2 or 3 times a day even, because all you're really doing is creating just new movement in the body, better coordination patterns so that your body remembers to get out of it. Because for so much of us, when we're stuck in flexion, if we don't teach our muscles how to do their job properly, they're probably not going to figure it out after a while. That's why these type of functional stretches and movements and releases are very, very powerful. So thanks for joining us today. How are you feeling, Ann?
I feel great. I feel tall. I feel open. I feel like I could go for a run.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for joining us, and we'll hope to see you soon. Have a great day.
Yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.